He was entirely in you.
Definitely.
In you and your name. That's what people don't give a fuck about those 3 letters.
At all.
At all. They just know Terence Crawford's the best. And who he's fighting, who cares? Like, whatever it is, that's the big fight. It doesn't WBO, WBC, and IBF. Nobody gives a fuck.
They don't.
I always say I never understand why we become champion have to pay for a belt. Keep that shit.
Yeah.
Keep it.
As long as they paid for the sanctioning bodies. But Crawford left out one, and that was the WBC. So, by default, on paper, he's not undisputed.
Joe Rogan has just added fuel to an already explosive situation. In one of his strongest reactions in recent memory, he openly criticized the WBC following their decision to remove Terence Bud Crawford from his super middleweight championship status and strip him of his boxing license. And to many fans, his frustration makes sense. This isn't just about losing a belt anymore. It's turning into a clash of authority, where a legendary fighter's legacy is colliding with a governing body determined to control the narrative.
I mean, nothing. We paying for the belts.
How much do you have to pay?
We got paid like, what, 3%?
3%?
2%, 3%. Like,
that's crazy.
Definitely.
That's so
like,
crazy.
It's like, I'm paying you to make me a...
Rogan didn't sugarcoat anything. He voiced what many fans have felt for a long time, that modern boxing often feels like a system where money speaks louder than merit, and even elite fighters are expected to play along just to hold on to titles. Crawford.
Individuals sanctioning?
Yeah.
Wow.
Some of them is different. Some of them is 3, some of them 2. You know, so it's like, I'm paying for you to come out here and watch me fight to give me a belt that, you know what I mean, I'm already paying.
Was a rare one who finally pushed back and refused to fall in line. That's when the situation spilled beyond the ring. Fighters and insiders started choosing sides, with Keyshawn Davis backing Crawford like family, Teofimo firing back publicly, and even longtime ring announcer Jimmy Lennon Jr. quietly acknowledging the sport's darker realities. The discussion spread fast, but one voice cut through the noise more than the rest. Joe Rogan's words hit hardest not because he's a boxing insider, but because he said what fans around the world have been thinking. Now let's break down exactly how it all unfolded.
His fees to go there. So Crawford made in the ballpark of $50 million. The WBC assessed $300,000 sanction fee, with $225,000 going to the fund and $75,000 going to the WBC.
Rogan's outburst quickly went viral, forcing fans to look deeper at what this controversy could mean for boxing's future. What began quietly escalated fast. On December 3rd, the WBC announced that Terence Crawford had been stripped of his super middleweight championship, stating that required sanctioning fees were not paid for his previous 2 bouts, the massive victory over Canelo Alvarez and an earlier fight against Israel Madrimov. The decision was already drawing backlash, but the situation became even more explosive when reports revealed Crawford earned around $50 million from the Canelo fight alone, a number that sent shockwaves through the sport.
I always say I never understand why we become champion have to pay for a belt. Keep that shit.
Yeah.
Keep it. I'm not gonna work 14, 15 years for me to pay for something I worked for. When I went to the Olympics, did I pay for that damn medal?
Despite delivering a historic moment that elevated the WBC's image, Crawford was accused of declining to pay what the organization described as required fees. The response was immediate and severe. The belt was taken away, and his boxing license was pulled without hesitation.
No. If I walk into this arena without this belt, is these people still gonna show up? Yes. So keep the belt. You're not about to take my money.
That's where Keyshawn Davis stepped in, one of boxing's quickest rising talents and someone clearly unafraid to speak openly. In a heated interview, Davis voiced a frustration many fighters have carried silently for years. He questioned why athletes are expected to pay for championships they've already owned, saying he dedicated his entire life to the sport and shouldn't have to buy a title. He compared it to his Olympic experience, pointing out that no one charged him for the medal he won, and made it clear he'd rather walk away than hand over his money.
I agree with Terence, you know what I'm saying? But I just don't agree with paying for belts. That's why, for all the sanctioning bodies, you know what I'm saying? And I told this to the one that I was under, the WBO. I told him to. I said, I don't really believe in that. And he explained why. And I was like, okay, but I still don't agree with it. You know what I mean? So like, I'm always gonna be like for not paying for belt. Because what the fuck are we paying it for?
Those comments flooded boxing social media within hours. Davis didn't backtrack either, explaining that he shared the same stance directly with the WBO, calling the practice of paying for titles outdated, unjust, and outright disrespectful. In his view, championship belts represent achievement, not a paycheck, and no fighter should be forced to pay for acknowledgement they've already earned through sacrifice and hard work.
The hell is going on? We talking about anybody that bring up Terence Crawford name? You already know I'm listening, right? Yeah, somebody said that. Can Terence Crawford beat everybody on Floyd Mayweather's resume?
Fans embraced it instantly. This wasn't only about backing Crawford. It felt like a statement from a younger generation fed up with outdated systems. And just as the debate hit its peak, Joe Rogan jumped in. Picture him on his podcast, leaning into the MIC with that calm but fiery tone, mixing disbelief with frustration. He questioned why fighters are expected to hand over massive sums for championships they've already owned, comparing it to charging someone simply for winning. According to Rogan, fans don't care about brand names on belts. They care about the action in the ring. He said the situation made the WBC appear driven by money, and not in a good way. That reaction spread across social media like wildfire.
Really in you.
Definitely.
In you and your name. That's what people don't give a fuck about those 3 letters.
At all.
At all. They just know Terence Crawford's the best. And who he's fighting, who cares? Like, whatever it is, that's the big fight. It isn't WBO, WBC, and IBF.
Joe Rogan's comments resonated because he operates outside the boxing establishment. He wasn't protecting the business interests of the sport. He was standing up for the essence of fair competition. He voiced what promoters avoid, what broadcasters stay silent on, and what many fighters are hesitant to say out loud. That boxing sanctioning structure has turned into an outdated system sustained by the very athletes who give the sport life.
The system.
Yeah.
You know, because the system is you get to a certain point in time, you're a champion, make as much money as you possibly can, you retire, and then there's no more money. Now with what's going on in like Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, like you can get paid insane amounts of money. Like people just want to see you perform.
Rogan likened it to a restaurant forcing a chef to pay for the privilege of serving his own dishes, and the analogy hit home. Fans poured into Twitter, Reddit, and YouTube comments, echoing that Crawford hadn't disrespected boxing. He had just finally called out the system. Of course, not everyone agreed. Enter Teofimo-Lopez, who offered a very different perspective.
Crawford was indeed for the undisputed. However, it was indeed, now hear me out, Punch. This was indeed accurate as long as they paid for the sanctioning bodies. But Crawford left out one, and that was the WBC. So, by default, on paper, he's not undisputed.
For Lopez, it was straightforward. Rules are rules. He argued that while Crawford and Canelo fought for the undisputed title, Crawford hadn't paid the WBC fees. So technically, on paper, he couldn't claim that status. Lopez pointed out that he himself had paid for his sanctioning belt. So if the system could enforce it on him, the same should apply to Crawford. His message was clear. If you want the belt, you follow the rules, even if those rules seem unfair. To Lopez, Crawford wasn't a hero. He was a rebel, challenging a system every fighter before him had accepted, grudgingly or not. But fans rejected that logic. Comments under Lopez's post flooded with backlash, calling the rules corrupt and arguing this wasn't about respect but about money. That's where Rogan's criticism resonated the most, highlighting a double standard boxing has long tolerated. While Rogan and Lopez exchanged their philosophical takes from the sidelines, another legendary figure stepped into the conversation.
Terence Crawford smashed everybody that Floyd ever fought. Yup. Manfredi, done. Fried. Crawford would have beat him, dominated him, knocked him the hell out. Crawford hit harder than Floyd. Crawford hits harder than Floyd. You understand that? Killer instinct is on 10. Oh, man, come on, man. Crawford can do everything Floyd can do.
Timothy Desert Storm Bradley's video rant went viral, not for politics, but for pure passion. He didn't focus on fees or rules. He wanted to celebrate greatness. Bradley declared that anyone doubting Crawford against fighters from Floyd's era was completely wrong, insisting Crawford would have dominated everyone on Floyd's resume with more power, versatility, and a killer instinct turned all the way up. He didn't stop there, directly challenging Floyd Mayweather himself. If you claim to be the greatest, step into the ring with Crawford and prove it.
I think, like Mauricio, I'm going to take a high road, but I will say it's unfortunate for the sport of boxing. I think talking about money too much and it is not the high road. And so we've seen some kind of ugly and not so pretty things, exchanges happen here. And so it's unfortunate, but it is.
That clip set fans off, igniting a frenzy online. Bradley wasn't merely defending Crawford. He was actively shaping how his legacy is perceived, making it clear that regardless of a stripped title, Crawford's place in boxing history is already secure. Then one of the sport's calmest and most respected voices, Jimmy Lennon Jr., weighed in. Unlike others, Lennon didn't take sides, but his words carried significant weight.
There's some things behind the scenes that I have heard about that aren't necessarily public yet, which makes this an impasse. So I think both have their reasons, but I would hope that this would be out of. I don't like it being as a part of the news. There's some ugliness about it, and that's unfortunate. At the same time, this has been happening in boxing for a long.
It's a sad reality for boxing. While the conflict looks messy, this pattern isn't new. It's been going on for decades. When a fighter refuses to pay sanctioning fees, it raises big questions about the power and influence of these governing bodies. In that sense, this isn't just about Crawford. It's part of a long-standing cycle. Fighters rise, organizations profit, and anyone who challenges the system faces consequences. Lennon spoke with a calm tone, but the weight of his words was undeniable. Interview 13. I've heard a few things behind the scenes that aren't public yet, which makes this situation complicated. I can understand that both sides have their reasons, but I hope this doesn't dominate the news. There's a certain ugliness to it, and that's unfortunate. At the same time, these kinds of conflicts have been a part of boxing for a very long time.
Paying you. You're not paying me, I'm paying you. So
Right.
the only one that really matters is the ring belt because it's free. It's free. Like, why do I gotta pay to be champion?
Yeah.
Once you start thinking about that, like, dang,
Yeah.
I'm paying all this money.
And the Ring Magazine belt is as respected as any of them.
Yeah, that's the number one guy in it.
Boxing's power structure has always been fragile, and Crawford's defiance exposed its cracks for everyone to see. At its heart, Rogan's rant wasn't just about Crawford. It was about every fighter who's ever had to pay for recognition. He argued that the WBC and similar organizations have prioritized business over sport, and fans immediately resonated with that idea. This isn't merely about money, it's about respect. Crawford earned his title in the ring, not in an office, yet a few signatures and unpaid fees are raised on paper. It raises the same question for everyone. If greatness can be stripped away over a bill, what's the point of fighting for it? The reactions from Rogan's fury, Keyshawn Davis' rebellion, and Bradley's loyalty all underline the same reality. The system isn't just outdated, it's broken. Right now, Crawford may be outside the WBC's favor, with no belt and no license. But in the eyes of fans, he's never looked stronger, because what began as controversy has grown into a movement.
Got more skills than Floyd. Yeah, he would have beat everybody ass. Everybody. Zeb Judah too, that's my guy. Crawford would have got your ass too. Yup, that's my guy.
Crawford has more skill than Floyd and could have beaten anyone, from Zab Judah to Puffer. No question. That's my guy. For the latest boxing news, highlights, and unforgettable moments, subscribe to Knockout Updates and turn on notifications so you never miss top quality content. Don't forget to check out our other videos. Until next time, stay tuned and peace out.